Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest Decaturish.com debate. My name is Dan Wisenhunt. I'm the publisher and editor of Decaturish.com. Today, we're going to have a debate with the candidates for DeKalb County Board of Education District 3. This is going to be for the May 21st primary election. I will note that the elections for school board are nonpartisan, even though they appear on the primary ballot. So the candidates here are not aligned with any political party. It's a nonpartisan race, so it'll be whether you're pulling a Republican or a Democratic ballot. Every one of these school board races is going to be on your ballot. So the candidates
Mhm.
are incumbent school board member Deirdre Pierce. Deirdre, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I cannot complain. And her challenger, Deidre Rossell Wright. Deidre, how are
Hello,
you?
I'm great.
Thank you for joining us both. As I mentioned earlier, they both have similar first names, so I'm gonna make sure I don't pronounce them wrong. But if I do, I apologize in advance. I'll work hard on that. So each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to give an opening statement. Each is going to have 2 minutes to make a close, and each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to respond to questions. We're going to go back and forth over for who answers what first and we're going to try to give each candidate an equal opportunity to go first, go last, what have you. If you appreciate what we're doing here at Decaturish, if you appreciate the opportunities that we're providing for candidates, please go to supportyourlocalnews.com and become a subscriber. We need subscribers to do the work that we do. We provide free local news to our community, but free ain't cheap. And we do have a team of people that we pay. In fact, Jaden Mason is our school board reporter, and he's doing an excellent job. And the reason he's able to sit through these really long school board meetings and go to these really long school board retreats, even though he's a young man, has got better things to do with his time, I'm sure, it's because of you all, you people watching who are our subscribers. So if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And if you're not, please visit supportyourlocalnews.com and become a subscriber today. That said, with that little speech out of the way, we're going to start with our opening statements, and we're going to start with the incumbent, Deirdre Pierce.
Mhm.
Deirdre, you're going to have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
All right, thank you so much. I do appreciate this opportunity to come before you and say a few things. I am Deidre P. Pierce, and I am currently the board member for District 3. I'm well into 3.5 months, or 3.5 years, I do apologize, into my job. And however, I'm not unfamiliar with working with the school district. For the last 30 years, I have been in the audience listening to board members, meetings, and all the types of things that have been on the agendas and whatnot. Of course, I've never been privy to what I know now, but you just never know what you don't know. But once you get there, you learn a lot more. So I've been very, very pleased with many of the things that we've been doing. I'm very pleased more so now that we have new leadership and we have a certain direction that we're headed in. Our team, and I do say team, our board members, we have 7 members on the board, and each one of us brings something very different to the table, something very special to the table, which is really, really good because it adds a lot of diversity. I do love what I do. I love my job. I love DeKalb County because I know that what we have been through before is not where we're headed going forward. So I'm very excited about being here and wanting to continue the work that we're doing.
Thank you. Uh,
You're
Deidre
welcome.
Wright, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
All right, well, I am Deidre Wright. I'm a resident of DeKalb County and a graduate of the Southwest DeKalb High School. I'm also a parent. I have two girls that are in the school system now. I'm also a teacher. And so my main focus is how are we going to retain teachers? How are we going to ensure that our schools are safe and physically and emotionally? How are we going to adjust the curriculum and implement programming and wraparound services that our students need in District 3? And how are we going to reimagine just what are we going to go with public education? Just reimagining it and reinventing it to make it work for all of our children. And so I decided to run for office to get my feet wet with it. I've been doing advocacy, I've been doing lobbying and education for a minute now. I have a background in education. I know what it means to not have access to the things that you need, not have access to the knowledge that you need to fight for what you want. And so hopefully I can bring more light to people who are not as much heard in our district. And so that is why I'm running for office.
Thank you. If For those and the benefit of those watching, if you see me hold up my church finger, that's our very sophisticated time keeping system at Decaturish. It means the candidates have 30 seconds to wrap up their statement. Thankfully, the candidates are zipping right through it so far, so you probably won't see that much. But if you do, I just want you to know that's not secret messaging. That's just our sophisticated timekeeping system at Decaturish. So let's get into the one of the tough questions first, and we'll start with Deirdre Wright. Deidre Wright. Um, Incumbents don't always get challengers. In this case, Deirdre Pierce drew a challenger. So my question for Deidre is, what specifically has your opponent done or not done that has prompted you to run for this seat? And then I'm going to give Deirdre Pierce 2 minutes to respond. So 2 minutes for Deidre Wright to answer that question, and then 2 minutes for Deirdre Pierce to respond.
Well, I am a working mother, right? I'm an educator. I'm busy. I don't think that my board member has been as accessible as I needed her to be. I don't think that communication always comes down to me as in the way that it needs to come to me. And so I remember my daughter, she spoke at the board, requesting more diverse books within her library. And for her to be a young African American young lady, I just assumed that my board member would have reached back out to her. But my daughter, Chloe Camille Wright, she never heard anything back. And so that was disheartening for me. And I don't know what their structure and their communication protocol is set up like, but I just would like to be more hands on with my board members. I would like for them to have, board advisory councils, right? Because parents need to have a voice, and our voice is in District 3, the under resourced voice, right? The underserved voice is important. And so that is why I'm running for office.
Thank you. Deirdre Pierce, what is your response to that? 2 minutes.
Yes, and thank you, Ms. Wright. I appreciate your candor in that respect. If you can recall, when your daughter comes or anyone comes to the school board meetings, we read a script, if you will. The school board meetings, during those times that we have community conversations, we are not allowed to respond. My picture is on the school board site, my number, my contact information. We also have the office numbers so if anyone ever wants to get in touch with me, they can. And I pride myself on when people do call me, and they do call me. I call right away. I don't overlook anyone. I never try to do that because I do understand, having been a parent in the school when my children were in school, it was just different. It was just very different. But we don't have the opportunity to discuss. For instance, if she came to the microphone, I couldn't tell her, well, thank you so much for coming. I'll be in touch with you. We're not allowed to do that. Our protocols don't call for that, because actually all we are there to do is to listen to whomever comes to the microphone. So that's strict. We don't change that. We cannot change that. But in terms of just conversation and getting in touch, when we have these advisory committees. We have the principals advisory committee. Our board goes out, and I don't know if you were able to come to any of my 5 meetings. I had 5 meetings in September, October, and November of last year. What I do, I make sure that my clusters get their personalized attention. Thank you. And that was what we did. And we discussed everything from grades and achievements and whatever, but also the board and the district's intention on how to improve things.
Thank you for that response. So I regret to inform the candidates that you have caught me at a challenging time as a DeKalb County Schools parent, because we have milestones testing this week. We all know
Yeah.
about the milestones, MAP testing, um, and I have a third grader. I'm a proud DeKalb County Schools parent. We're involved. We do all the things. We do the PTA stuff. We're engaged. We have skin in the game. I've never seen my child melt down harder over anything than
Mm,
he does over the
Mm-hmm.
milestones. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel personally, the kids have endured this pandemic. There's virtual kindergarten. They live in a high pressure world anyway with social media. I feel like when they're getting good grades in school, and then the message they hear from the teacher is, but by the way, if you bomb on this test, you might not advance with your class. That's like pulling the last little piece out of the Jenga tower right before it
Mm-hmm.
falls, and they
Mm-hmm.
and they melt. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it concerns me. It bothers me fundamentally to see how hard these kids take it. And so my question, starting with Deirdre Pierce, is
Mm-hmm.
what is your opinion of standardized testing? And what can be done to make this a less stressful experience for students and their families? You have 2 minutes.
And surprisingly, Ms. Wright and I had that conversation while you were getting organized with your technology. Um, and she was talking about her classroom students. Well, one of the things that I'm concerned about is testing. Of course, we do have to have some measures in place. What we've been also talking about is looking at curriculum instruction. We've talking to our superintendent. We're talking to as many people as we possibly can, including our legislators, because so many of those mandates come from downtown. We don't make those rules. We have to adhere to them, unfortunately. Well, I should say fortunately, because there has to be some sort of a measure for our students and their achievement. Now, the meltdown piece of it, it's carryover, I think, too, some from COVID. All of that being sheltered in and not being able to get out and do things and whatever. So it's it's an intense time. So we are definitely looking at that, the social emotional learning part of it for everybody, not just the students, but the teachers as well. Everybody is in a pressure cooker sometimes during testing. So we are looking at that. And I ask that, everyone gives us a chance to reformat some of the ways we have been handling business to do it better going forward.
Thank you. Deidre Wright, you're a teacher. You deal with this.
of course. So, oh,
Do you want me to ask the question again? Or you just want to roll into it?
no, I'm gonna roll with it. I know
Okay.
this one well. My daughter. This is real time.
Mhm.
My daughter has an IEP and she has anxiety as well. And so I wrote the principal to request for her to opt out of
Mhm.
testing this round. I did not
Mhm.
know that it was rules and regulations. Again, parents do not know. They're not knowledgeable. I did not
Mhm.
know that a committee could be formed to create an appeal for a child to be progressed to the next level. I didn't know that. So parents can opt out, but it would be a committee made at the school to decide if that student could be promoted or not. I didn't
Mhm.
know that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so again, lack of knowledge. Our parents don't
Mhm.
have what they need, right? To
Mhm.
advocate
Mhm.
effectively for our children because you can't opt out. And I was just in contact with some people that I know who are lobbyists to figure out how do we change that Georgia law that
Yeah.
says that you cannot legally opt out. I want parents to be able to legally opt out and the schools not get penalized for it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm in the works of trying to figure out how to work that out now. I
Mhm.
hate standardized testing. They're culturally biased. You know, it's a whole lot of other mess. And so to me, it doesn't accurately measure a student's intelligence.
Mhm.
It diminishes their self-esteem. And I see it as a teacher. I had
Mhm.
to pray with my kids, my students this morning. I had to hug them. I had to reassure them that they were going to be okay, even if they did not pass.
Mhm. And
So,
Dan, if I can I
sure,
have a moment to rebut
sure.
that? One of the things, Ms. Wright, that we are up against is we have information available to parents. We actually are, every department is required to ensure that parents get what they need, like the IEPs. My son had one, so I'm very familiar with that. And if you're not at the table, someone will make a decision for
But
you.
you just never.
However, at the board level, that's a day-to-day operation piece. That is something that the board does not get into unless you have gone through the protocols, and I'm sorry to have to say the protocols, but they exist and we have to follow that. If you follow the protocols, and if you then don't get what you need from that level, then you bring it to the board member, but the board member is not able and should not and cannot step into making a decision for that. However, what we can do and what we do is send it forward to the superintendent. The superintendent is our only employee. He is the one that we've hired to handle everything. And if there's something comes to me and there's a concern, which I get many of these, so don't feel like you're, just come preaching to the choir. We get quite a bit of these, but I send them to him. It's his responsibility to connect and send that information to the correct individual or individuals or department so that they can address it. Now, they don't have to come back to me to tell me how it's going, other than to say that it has been addressed. So I just wanted to share that with you, that the board does not step into day-to-day operations like that. And going downtown and advocating for things to change, we do that through our school board chair. Our chair speaks for us, takes our concerns downtown to the legislators. On occasion, they will invite all of us to come and ask us questions, and then we kind of brainstorm. So we're getting better at that because we've all been acting in silo for too long.
Deidre Wright, do you want to take 2 minutes to respond
Yes,
to
I
that?
do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. So I understand what you were saying. I know one of my main points is to dare to reimagine education and reinvent this broken system. This system isn't designed to work for people who are not on top of reading and on top of keeping up with all of this stuff. And so if we have a superintendent, our job is to say, well, hey, what are you doing with the parent liaisons? Like, how are you setting that up? How is this information flowing out? How is communication getting out to the people? Because it's not getting out to the people. And so it becomes our responsibility. It becomes our responsibility. So I wouldn't push it all on, we're supposed to make sure that he is operating this district in a way that is equitable. And right now, the communication is not equitable.
And if I could, Dan, and just speak to that again,
30
if you want
seconds,
me
and then
to.
we're going to move on. 30
Gotcha.
seconds, and then we're going to move on.
We're working on that goal, Ms. Wright. Don't think that this is something that has gone unnoticed. We are on top of telling the superintendent our concerns. He's only been here since July, so we've got to give him a little time. And of course, having to restructure some things that have been structured incorrectly, and the communications piece is something we're very concerned about, and wanting to see evidence, and I'm evidence-based all day, every day, to make sure that what we're telling him to do or whomever gets done. So thank you for that,
So
Dan.
we're going to move into the next question, which is on a related topic, and we're going to start with Deidre Wright. And the question is, do you think DeKalb Schools is doing enough to support the mental health of students and staff? And what would you want to see the district add in terms of support? You have 2 minutes.
That's a good question. So I've been reaching out to some teachers in DeKalb County, and I guess you guys have implemented the Zen stations at some schools. I don't think many of our schools in District 3 have these stations for teachers, but we need to implement some sort of free therapy, right? When students came back from COVID, I felt like it should have been therapy overload for them. I don't think they should have been thrown back into a school without some sort of mental health care plan. And so I am a mental health care advocate to my core. So I think it needs major improvement in our district. We do.
Deirdre Pierce, same question to you.
Yes, and thank you for that again, Ms. Wright. I appreciate your candor about these things. One of the things I will tell you that McNair High School was the first one to get a Safe Center. And the Safe Center is a student and family engagement center. And it's open to our students, our faculty, staff, anyone, as well as the community. It's been advertised a great deal, but many times a lot of our families don't want to admit that there may be a concern. So sometimes they don't come. We do everything that we can to try to get them and draw them in, keep it private, but also make sure that they get the help that they need. So I wanted to just let you know that the first one is at McNair. Now, the Zen rooms, what you're talking about, is a part of the Safe Center. We just had a ribbon cutting last week at Redan High School. And I don't have pictures, I don't have time for that, but the Zen room is a part of the Safe Center. If you're having a meltdown, getting close to that, hanging on the edge, or whatever the case, you have an opportunity without question, student, teacher, whomever, to come in that area, sit down, decompress. Some rooms are quiet, dark, a little dark, so you can just kind of sit there, get a squeeze ball, whatever's necessary, just walk around the room. Nobody bothers you. It is an outstanding program, and we're trying to implement it in as many of the high schools as possible. We'll get to the middle schools, but even without that being there, we are definitely paying very close attention to social, emotional, and education, and also supports for everybody. During COVID, we had the medical advisory group. They were the ones that were speaking to the superintendent as well as to the board. We spent many countless late nights. Sometimes we didn't get to bed, trying to figure out the right way to go back, when to go back, how do we go back, what kind of supports do we provide? So do know that.
So just for clarity, so you did provide mental health care services for students
Absolutely.
and teachers when
Absolutely.
they returned back from COVID?
Absolutely.
I don't
Absolutely. It was
remember
up to
receiving
them.
any of that information, and I'm a
It was
parent in
up.
District 3.
Okay. It was up to them to be able to apply to want it and let us know they needed it. It
Again,
was
communication is
available.
the issue.
Okay, I understand. I understand that. So thank you for letting me know that. But yes, we did. And we had the
And how
medical
many
advisory.
Zen centers are in District 3?
We so far have just McNair for the moment. And we pushed them out to the various schools. You know, we have 18 high schools and probably up to 22. We're making our rounds. Stone Mountain has one, so we're getting there. It takes a great deal of money and also resources, and for reallocation of those resources to make them work. We don't want to just stick something in a school just to have something available. It's got to be relevant, it's got to be run well, and people have to be held accountable to do what they need to do. And we want reports on it. So yes,
And
we're making progress.
this is from a parental perspective. This is a wonderful conversation, and I love it. We do need to keep it moving for the benefit
I
of the
know,
voters.
I'm sorry.
I know
You
that's
got two
okay.
chatty people.
I mean, education's one of those things you can go down so many rabbit holes. It's amazing.
Yes, yes,
So Deirdre Pierce, starting with
yes,
you
sir.
on this one. Currently,
Okay.
DeKalb County Schools is developing its 5-year strategic plan. What
Yes.
role do you think the strategic plan should have in guiding district operations, and how will you work to see it implemented? You have 2 minutes.
Well, actually, we're working toward that. Like you said, we're doing that now. We've had several presentations from the organization that's working with that, and they're talking to all the different departments. And eventually, every board meeting or every other board meeting, we get a report back from the Miss. Can't think of her name at the moment, but she brings a report to us to let us know how well they're doing. The strategic plan is supposed to guide the district. It tells us what the mission is, the vision is, and how we're going to get there. How are we going to accomplish all of these things? As well as it holds us accountable, or should hold us accountable, for making sure that those things that we say we want to have done. So it's we're a work in progress at the moment. I've served on several of these over years, and they are very taxing. And you do have to bring a lot to the table. You have to have staying power for these, because it can get a little old sometimes to be on there. Sometimes it's repetitive, but it's important work. We do have to have things that guide the district, and then it's up to us as all members of the district to follow through on it and make sure that things are going well. So that is where we are right now. We've only had probably 3 meetings, I think, at this point. So it's a work in progress, and that's good. Every 5 years we do this.
Thank you. Deidre Wright, same question to you.
Well, this is the comprehensive master plan, correct?
No,
It's the
No,
strategic plan.
the strategic plan. I want to see it implemented and the things that they have planned come through. What more can I say?
Okay.
And we're going to push for that too. I do apologize for stepping in, Dan, but yes, we are working toward that goal, and we're holding the presenter accountable, and she's holding all the people who signed up to be a part of that accountable as well. And then we get a report, and then we'll eventually kind of come to some terms with what we want to do.
Okay, well, moving right along, we do have some comments coming in. If you're just joining us, this is the District 3 Board of Education debate here in DeKalb County. My name is Dan Wisenhunt. I'm publisher of Decaturish.com. Got some comments. One person said, "We appreciate you streaming this." Well, we appreciate you watching. Another comment is, as a parent of 3 school-age boys, I did not get mental health support information either post-COVID, and I am an engaged parent who receives calling Class Dojo posts and is active on Class Dojo. So there you go. I think one of the things that I notice is that there are so many ways to get information that it's kind of overload. You don't know where to look for things. Moving into another important topic, and we're going to start with Deidre Wright on this one, and then go back to Deirdre Pierce. Deidre Wright. DeKalb County Schools currently has a backlog of maintenance projects. As a board member, how will you work with the district to move these projects forward? You have 2 minutes.
I know personally, McNair had horrible leakage and possibly mold damage even right now. So being on site more and understanding what the needs are to take them back to get them done, I think that is what's needed as well. So I will work hard to advocate to make sure that our babies are in a safe space, mold free, not leaking, not damaged, to make sure that they're getting the best educational experience that they can get.
Okay. Deirdre Pierce, same question to you.
And thank you again for the question, and also thank you for the comments, Ms. Wright. I will say to you that one of the things that we have to be very careful of when you do step into the role, or when anyone steps into the role of a board member, we go to schools upon invitation only. We have had a situation some years ago, and I don't know if you remember this, where some of our board members were removed by the state. Sometimes there was a little bit too much intervention. I am always aware, and we do get reports on when things happen monthly or every day. Whenever something happens, the board members receive some sort of information to say this has happened, just for your awareness. So those types of things are for our awareness. And what I do, I ask for a follow-up. What's going on? How did this turn out? And for the most part, in those emails, we are told that right now, this is all the information that we've been given, but we will update you as we go along and find out more. So I appreciate that very much. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have maybe a checklist of something, or someone has called me and told me about a matter, and I'll mention it to the superintendent. Hey, and first of all, I will mention this, and I'm very proud of this. I always ask anyone who contacts me, how do you feel about me passing your personal information or this particular email on beyond me? Because I cannot solve it. If it's classified as day-to-day operations, I don't touch it, because that's not what we're supposed to do. So when I do send it on, that is the responsibility of the superintendent to send it to wherever it needs to go, like I mentioned earlier. And then if the person says it's okay, hey, it's fine, go ahead and share it, I do that. And then we work on whatever's necessary at that point. So we're aware of the situation over at McNair as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Deirdre Pierce, we're going to start this next
Yes.
question with you.
Okay.
What do you think is Superintendent Devin Horton's biggest accomplishment since becoming superintendent, and where do you think that he needs to improve? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, and thank you. It's Devon. That's how you
Devon,
pronounce
I'm
it,
sorry,
Devon.
Devon.
Yeah, Devon Q. Horton. He's doing an outstanding job. I think from the time he stepped in the door, he was really very anxious. It was almost like a person who was just ready to be let out of the gates. He says he's been watching us for a long time, and watching us by virtue of all aspects. He's definitely curriculum and instruction, uh, expertise. He's really a phenomenal person. He's been a teacher for 10 years, or was a teacher for 10 years, so he understands that experience. He has no problems getting into the mix of things and asking people, what do you need? He didn't come into the district to chop anybody off at the knees. He didn't say, you're fired, we got to redo this, we got to do that. Everybody has had an opportunity to prove themselves, if you will, but he came with a vision. And that is the one thing. The main thing that I'm very proud of course, is our teacher residency programs that he brought, and also the para to teacher residencies. And he's got some more coming up, special ed, all of those types of things, so that those particular groups in those areas, we are looking at having a cohort of 50 people in each one of these going forward. The first group came on in January. That cohort will be finished, I think, in June or whatnot, and then we get another one. These are people who are committing themselves to wanting to be educators. And they have a team of people who are their master mentors, and they're working extraordinarily hard with them. It's nothing to play with. This is something very, very serious, because we're serious about education. He is as well. Now, in terms of getting improving and things like that, giving him the time and opportunity to prove the things that he has put out and has implemented is extremely important. And we're giving him that time. Nobody's telling him, hurry up and get this done, hurry up and get that done, because it's not about that.
Thank you. Deidre Wright, same question to you. What do you think is Devon Horton's biggest accomplishment, and where do you think he needs to improve? 2 minutes.
Well, I like how he has made a major move to get connected with the community. I appreciate that. From nonprofit organizations to church, I mean, everybody. He's bringing everybody to the table, so I like that. And I also like that he made a vow. What was it, Mrs. Pierce, 90 days to observe and view all of the principles and leaderships that were in place to see if they are a perfect fit for where they were at. I appreciate that. And I look forward to him doing even more. Again, giving him the time to work through. He's very passionate. He seems to
Yes.
be very committed. And so I'm ready to see what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And if I could add one more thing real
Sure.
quickly, Dan, if you don't mind, one of the things that he's implemented is we used to have regional superintendents as a format that had a regional person who was over the schools and all specific areas and whatnot. He changed that to area superintendent, and I'll give him credit for that, but also Mrs. Watson Harris also started trying to do that before COVID. The area superintendents now are in place throughout our entire district. Instead of having high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, specialty schools, stadiums, et cetera, and so forth to be responsible for, each one of them has a designated group of people and a staff, a very tight staff, support staff that will support the schools and the principals in those schools. So it's just really a wonderful work in progress. It's a true vertical alignment that is working, and people are saying that.
Thank you. Starting the next question with Deidre Wright. How can the board work more effectively with the superintendent to accomplish its goals? 2 minutes.
Hmm. Um, oh my goodness. In order for the board to work more effectively with the superintendent, like I went back and say, hey, I just found out that the board members can't go and visit the schools as much, but figure out how he's organizing his area superintendents to go and check on things and maybe organize a way that they can check in with them. I mean, to me, that helps communication flow a little bit better, right? So that is one way that could help bring our county to where it needs to be. Communication, because there's no way that people should know what's going on in schools. Like my daughter's school did not have air conditioning in the beginning of the year. It was broke. The teachers and the students were in that school. Like, how are we going to get that fixed quick? Like, what is the communication protocol between the principal and the school and the work maintenance? So something has to bend and break to bring them together to communicate more, to figure out how to help us and be more effective. So that's what I think.
Okay. Deirdre Pierce, same
Mhm.
question.
Well, one of the things I'm very proud of, and Dr. Horton speaks about this all the time, is that he's in a school every day. He's in probably 4 schools a day, every day.
Mhm.
And he does not come on maybe like on a Friday. I look at it as being spread thin. To him, he's like an Energizer bunny. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. It doesn't hurt him. He will go and visit schools, and he has H Pride days where he goes in. I just actually sat in on one with him last week. You have a parent, you have a teacher, you have the leadership and all of that. And everybody speaks very freely as to what they feel is good about their school and what they would like to see better at their school. So, and one thing you were talking about, the area superintendents, they are monitored every single day, Ms. Wright and Mr. Wiesenhunt, every day. Everybody is accountable, and that's my middle name, I say, because that's one of the things I ran on from the very first. I wanted to see accountability. I love them all, but we've missed that step so many times that once we tell something, we put something in place, but we don't follow up. So that is over. So I must say that the area superintendents, everybody has to report to everybody. The last Monday of each month, he has his meetings, and they're the miracles meetings, and everybody has to report out. And when they report out, they have to report out something that's positive and makes sense. If something has gone wrong, he's asking the question, well, who's responsible for it? Who do I need to connect with? So it is a very tight situation. The accountability is at an all-time high for all of us, from the board all the way down to whomever. So I do know that. Very
Thank you.
proud of what he's doing.
Deirdre Pierce, we're going to start the next question with you. The district has seen declining enrollment since COVID and post COVID. Why, in your opinion, has enrollment declined? And what would you do to convince more families to attend DeKalb County schools? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, and thank you for the question, Jan. I would encourage them, first of all, like I mentioned earlier, to give us a chance. We're in a totally different mode right now. I think people see that. We're not getting as many emails that were negative or anything like we used to. The thing about student losses and whatever, I know some students went to probably private schools and other things because they were just concerned. They didn't like maybe some of the decisions we've made in terms of coming back or whatever. We are very aware of that. The best thing that we can do, I can show you better than I can tell you. So that's where I am. I want to make sure that we have schools that people are proud of. Even with economic development, if our school, the first thing that people ask a real estate agent, how are your schools? And they may come to the area, but they may not send their children to our schools. And that I have a problem with. Charters, I have no problems with them. The thing is, I don't want people to have to go to a charter. If you want to choose to go to a charter, that's fine. But we should not have to have that. I want our schools to offer what we need, what the students need, when they need it, and make it work.
Thank you. Deidre Wright, same question.
Oh, Dan, I'm sorry. And I am so tired, but let me wake up.
Sure.
So, very tired. Um, I've been talking to a lot of parents, right? I've created parent input surveys as well to just see what parent concerns are. And a lot of parents have opted out of public school and are doing homeschool. Because of the miscommunication, not feeling like they have input on what's going on in their child's school. And so changes need to be made. I know the answer to it, right? More engagement with the community and more reaching out with them where they're at, right? We can't always assume that they're going to read it, even like going out. I was reading through the master comprehensive plan, how the county is thinking about these things as we think about, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Going out into the community to reach our parents to figure out what's going on. We need to do that. A lot of people are just, they're fed up with it. Teachers are overworked, classrooms are overcrowded. Violence is in school. My daughter's school, people are bringing vape to school, okay, and lighters. That's the problem. How are you getting that through security? People are afraid, so they're pulling out. So it's a lot of changes that need to be made, and you can't see everything sitting in a boardroom, right? To see how things are slipping through the cracks. So we need to get more hands-on, and we need to come up with some logical plans to make change.
Great. Thank you both for those answers. Moving right along, we're making good time on our questions. Deidre Wright, this question starts with you. What are your ideas for attracting qualified teachers and staff to work in DeKalb County schools? 2 minutes.
Pay increase, pay increase, supporting them through professional development, making sure it's a clear grievances process and that teachers aren't blackballed for calling out poor leadership. That is how we're going to attract and retain quality teachers. If we don't do that, we're going to continue to lose teachers because teachers are being abused in classrooms, okay? It's overcrowded. They're not supported. They feel as if they don't have a voice because we don't have a strong union to really fight for us. So teachers are afraid. If you want to retain, I've seen great teachers, graduates of Princeton, Harvard, and Yale walk away from the classroom because they're being harassed by toxic leadership. So something needs to shift and change.
Deidre Pierce,
and I want to bring those changes.
And thank you for bringing those points up, Ms. Wright. Those are the very things that we are addressing. Now, while we did not want to implement metal detectors, we had to. There was too much going on, things coming from the community into the schoolhouse. Because in the schoolhouse, you have an audience right there. There's just so many places you can go. So sometimes things flow into the schools. As far as the teachers are concerned, and you're talking about in terms of people not being able to feel like they can speak to certain types of things, that is changing. We encourage that. Now, we can't make anybody do anything. It's always there. However, now I can't speak for other leadership, but I can speak for this leadership at this time and place we're in. It is a different time and place, and we're handling things very differently. And now you were talking about the abuse in the classroom. If we don't know what's happening, if I don't know about it, and that's day to day. It's day to day now. When that happens, that has to go through the protocol of your principal. If you don't get the satisfaction there, then you take it up to the area superintendent. You come to me when it is the last, now I won't say last resort, because that's not a good word, but when it needs to hit a different level, that's where I get it. And then that's where I take it forward. So please don't think that we're just sitting up there on the dais with, just trying to sit there and do a little something, write a few notes. That is not happening. and it will not continue to happen. We've been working hard for the last 3 years or more, actually. So I'm very, very pleased. Safety is of prime importance. Our teachers have an emergency lanyard button that they actually have around, they're supposed to wear around their necks. That is supposed to help them in a situation whenever something breaks out in a classroom, they have somebody that will come and see about them. So there's a lot of things already in place. But again, we cannot make things happen unless people let us know. And
Thank you.
that's
Right,
at
real
the board
quick.
level.
30
That
seconds.
that's surface level, right? We talking about the lanyard. Let's talk about the mental health care, right? Let's talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
why are these kids upset. Let's talk about how can we get them support in that realm.
Mhm,
And let's
mhm,
talk about teachers don't even know how to file grievances in the county. I've surveyed them.
mhm,
Let's talk
mhm,
about that. It's not an easy process that you can access online.
mhm,
It's not an easy process for students to put their complaints out as well.
mhm,
So some
mhm.
things need to change in the district.
A lot of
Yeah,
them think,
and I will say this. Oh, I'm sorry.
I said a lot of them think
Well,
that the grievance process is emailing me, but go.
yeah. And then, going to
Dan,
the,
you're right.
but we
Thank God
do,
for the news.
but we, but we do go into classrooms and we do, not, we don't. I'm not, when I say we, I'm talking about the district at large. There are people that are assigned, now, social emotional learning, all of that. We are involved in that. We are totally involved in that. But again, if we cannot make young people or even adults participate because there's a stigma sometimes behind that type of thing. It's not us. We're offering everything that we possibly can, but if you don't take advantage of it, what more can we do? We make everything available. We put it out there. We have people going. We even have home visits. Whatever it takes is necessary. And we are not having a problem with going out and working with other organizations, outside organizations. We are a collective body that's trying to make the difference. So,
Let's stick a pin in that.
yes,
We'll probably come back to it
yes,
in some form or fashion. Deirdre Pierce, sort
yes,
of a
sir.
board procedure question. Do you
Hmm.
support giving the superintendent the authority to hire more upper level central office staff without that extra oversight by the school board? 2 minutes.
That would be something I would have to have conversation with my fellow colleagues, Dan. That is not something I would be discussing here in a forum like this. I do say that when the superintendent brings somebody to us, he'll bring all the pros, cons, and all that type of thing. It is a collective body. That is where that decision needs to be made. And we don't tell him what to do. That is not our job. He is our only employee. So we tell him, well, what about this type of individual or whatever? And then two, it depends on who comes and actually applies. There may be a job available. Some people don't want it. There may be a job that some people do want. We get tons of people, and he'll say, hey, we had like 10 or 12 people apply for something. So we have to let that rest there with him. But in terms of the question you're asking me, that is something the board would have to collectively have a conversation with. Because again, we have one vote, but we all work together as best we can as a body.
And just for context for the viewers, this is a little in the weeds on board procedure, but there are
Mhm.
certain C-suite level hires in DeKalb County schools that require board
Yes.
approval or sign off, and it's a
Mhm.
policy. I don't know if other school districts do that. I have not seen any in Georgia that do, but DeKalb does.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's Deidre Wright. Same question to you. Do you support giving the superintendent more authority to hire central office, these C-suite level people, without that extra oversight by the board? 2 minutes.
No,
All right.
I don't.
Thank you very much. Do you
Mhm.
want to elaborate? Or do you just want to move on to the? Nope. All right. Sounds good. Uh, Deirdre Wright. Deirdre Wright. New question. New topic. What is your take on recent news that a lack of digital records has increased the cost of the district's eSplost audit? And what would you like to see the school district do going forward to rectify that problem? 2 minutes.
Honestly, Dan, I haven't done much research on that. I tried to apply to be on the East Plus Advisory committee, so I haven't done research to answer it effectively, honestly.
That's all right. Deirdre Pierce, do you want to touch on that real quick? You were there for the meeting.
Yes.
So 2 minutes.
Yes, very quickly. In order to get to, we changed over to a new system, the Munis system. Because we had been doing, and this is not pointing fingers at anybody, was this the time at that time people did this. And again, there was maybe not necessarily enough oversight to make sure things were being done the way they should be. We had a lot of paper. So consequently, when you have paper, sometimes things get missing or whatever the case. So now digitizing everything will eliminate that. Munis coming in needs to ask questions. Well, where is this? Where is that? Where is this? Serving on the audit committee as the chair, that is one of the conversations we just had last week. We meet monthly, and what we're doing is covering as much territory as possible in various departments to find out what in the world happened here. And not trying to point any fingers at anybody or remove anybody or whatever the case, or gotcha, that kind of stuff. No, we're trying to get to the bottom of something so that we can move forward without having to continually go backwards and clean things up. So now the digitizing, we have to do it. We have to do it. It's either that or we stay in the same old, and I'm not accepting that. So we are moving forward. The superintendent's not accepting it, nor are any of the board members, none of us. So we're moving forward for the right reasons so that Munis can get hold of what has been happening, what needs to happen, and move it forward so that it's clear and it works well.
Thank you. Next
You're
question.
welcome.
Deirdre Pierce. Being a
Yes,
school
sir.
board member, as you well know, is very time consuming, with board members often meeting multiple times a month for day-long meetings. The pay is not great for that. For you, maybe the question is, how do you balance your responsibilities as a board member with your personal responsibilities?
Okay, well, I think I'm probably one of those many, what do you call the Energizer bunnies? I generally work on high energy. It's just a natural part of me. I don't have that problem of, I get tired, trust me. I mean, we have a lot of meetings. I know on paper it says we only meet once a month. That is so far from the truth because there's so much sometimes that needs to be unraveled or discussed. We have to have special call meetings to establish some things. When we have student situations that we have to decide on that have a timeline, you have to be present. So, I mean, you have to just manage. I've been married a long time. My children, again, I don't have the responsibility of small children, but I do have a sensitivity to all of that. And so we try to do our best to get to as much as possible. Some things are in person, some things we can do virtually, but we are very cognizant of it. As a matter of fact, we have a retreat tomorrow, as a matter of fact, 2 days. So we'll be talking about some things there. So it's almost a full-time job. Nobody's identified it as such, but it is. So, I mean, every month, sometimes multiple times a month, we are doing something because it's important. If we said, hey, I only work 12 months, I'm only supposed to be at one meeting, well, maybe I need to find or somebody needs to find something else to do, whatever. But that is not my stance on it. I make myself available whenever I can, and I have as probably more latitude and flexibility than most. So I enjoy it, actually. I need to stop saying I like challenges because I keep getting them.
Deidre, right, same question to you. How do you plan to balance your responsibilities as a board member with your personal responsibilities? 2 minutes.
Dan, into my community and my schools are where they need to be, and the students are getting what they need to get, I'm not sleeping. So I have been on this road for a long time, from organizing with grassroots organizers to go figure out how we can fight for diversity, equity, and inclusion. How can we fight for curriculum adjustment? This is my life. And I'm a fighter. I'm going to work hard for my community, and everybody that knows me knows that. I'm really willing to pour it all out because I think my community and the kids that are here are important for it. So I don't even really know how I can balance it. I do so much. God has given me the strength to do so much, and I'm thankful for that. But I'm here to work.
Mhm.
Thank you for that answer. So we are, believe it or not, we're at our last question. We got through the bulk of the questions. I'm happy to say that, and then we're gonna
And
roll.
Dan, please
Yes,
forgive me for the interruption. I just want to add a little something very
sure.
quickly, if I may.
We've got time. Go for it.
I just wanted to touch on something for you, Ms. Wright.
Mm-hmm.
The matter when we're talking about, just as a note of remembrance, when we're talking about the school district, we're talking about the school district. Even though we are elected by people in our area and our district, we represent everybody.
We
So,
do. I
and we know
understand
have
that,
to
but
be,
I know
yeah,
District 3 students and the parents have been not heard all the time. So
and
I do
understand that.
represent, I really represent all marginalized groups. I do. That's
Hmm.
who I am. I'm here to help out and build our entire county. But
Yes.
I just know the parents here have not been respected and we haven't been heard all the
Hmm.
time. So if you hear
Okay.
me saying, hey, I'm here, that's what I'm here for.
Hmm.
I don't know
Okay.
it's because they think that we don't vote all the time. Y'all listening, please go out and vote, or that we're not literate or we're not reading, but we matter too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And that's why we get where we are, because we hear from people and they're not afraid. And I want always to let people know I'd never be afraid to talk to a board member. At one point in time, people were told, don't talk to a board member, don't share anything with a board member. I was further from the truth at this point. I am open and available to anyone who needs to talk to me about anything. And I do mean anything. So thank you for that,
I'll be
Dan.
calling you tomorrow, Piers.
Feel that, hey, that's a problem. My phone is right there by I mean, I don't put it on my wrist,
Well,
but
that's the
I
thing.
do have it
We
somewhere.
can start now.
Moving on. Last question, and then we'll move into closing
Yes,
statements. All right, Deirdre Pierce, what are
yes,
your
sir.
thoughts on weapons detectors being installed in DeKalb high schools? Do you think they are needed, and do you think they are effective? 2 minutes.
Well, I think I touched on that a little earlier. Yes, we didn't want to do that. Nobody wants to have to do that. But some of the things that some of our, and I like to use the term that the superintendent uses, dysregulated individuals, they just kind of do some things sometimes. So we have to prepare, we have to protect everybody. The main thing, and I think Ms. Wright was talking about, more pay for teachers and whatever. The primary thing that I've heard from them and anybody in the building is that they want to be safe. When they come to that building, they want to be safe. Some of them would work for less pay if that could be ensured that they would come in that building and nothing could happen, or at least the
Right.
minimum would happen. So what we're about is safe, warm, and dry. That's our mantra right now, especially from operations. Safe is primary. So again, we are doing everything that we can. And yes, the evolve is what it's called. It is working. And I'm very proud of that. Of course, it's not perfect. Nothing is and never will be, but at least less weapons and etc. items are showing up on our campuses. We still have some work to do to kind of fine tune it and everything, but it is working. So I'm thankful for that. And our teachers are feeling better because we listen to them. We know it. They don't even have to ask. We knew it was necessary. We had to make a decision. Not everybody wants to have place looking like a jail or anything like that, which they don't. Because when you go to Kroger, you don't know that you walked through maybe a metal detector when you saw that cute little cover that showed you all those vegetables that were on sale. That is a metal detector. So thank you, Jan.
Deirdre
Hmm.
Wright, question to you. What's your opinion on metal detectors? Are they effective? Are they needed?
No, they're not effective solely. As a teacher, I know how kids get all kinds of things into the school. So other security measures need to be put into place, I think.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to move into our. This has been a fun debate. We really have gotten into a lot of really weighty issues that are important to not just you know the candidates, but also important to parents like myself and the other parents who may be watching this tonight. And with that, we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes to make a closing statement, and we're going to start with Deirdre Wright.
Well, I am passionate about what I do. I love children. I love education. I believe in public education. I believe that it can work if everybody is given the resources that they need. And I am willing to not fight, but work for it to be so in our community and beyond. So I'm Deidre Wright, and I will be your next District 3 board representative.
Deirdre Pierce, last word.
And thank you. Thank you. And first of all, let me just say to my opponent, thank you for your service. Okay, maybe somebody doesn't always tell you about being thankful for your service as an educator, but I'm wanting to say that,
Thank
opponent
you.
or not. But I am passionate. Again, I have to follow suit with what you were just saying. If I didn't love what I was doing, trust me, there were many other things I could be doing, but education, public education, advocating for that, making sure that our schools are top notch to the best of their ability, offering things that our students will appreciate and be able to move forward in this life. Because we've got to pay attention to AI. It's right here with us. We are looking at that at the school district. We're making sure that all of our pathways, the CTAE pathways, career technical agricultural education pathways, make sense. We have magnet schools, we have theme schools, we have all kinds of things. However, our population has changed. So one of the things that I'm excited about academically and working with this school board and the school superintendent at this point and his team is that we are light years ahead thinking of what we need to do, because what we thought our young people needed before is totally different now. So we are on a road of preparation. We're looking forward to that type of thing, even with the voucher system that may be implemented next year. We are looking at everything, everything. We have a comp and class study that is going to be looking at everybody's pay. That is going to be a heavy lift, but we're pulling that together. So I'm very excited about that. We have a new HR director that was just hired the other night at our board meeting. We're looking for change. Change is on the horizon. We are in it right now. Not looking forward to it. We're in it right now. And we're moving it forward. And I thank you so much for your support of this lady with the white hair. So thank you. You may not remember my name, Deidre P. Pierce, but you know, and by those signs, you know that lady with the white hair. I've been in the community for a long time, and I'm not planning on going anywhere unless something else happens, that has totally out of my hands. But
Well,
thank you for this opportunity, Dan.
Well, thank you both for Deirdre Pierce. Thank you for your service, Deirdre Wright. Thank you for being a teacher. Both of those things are so important. And to the viewers, thank you for watching. This has been the Decaturish.com District 3 Board of Education Forum. The elections are May 21st. They're part of the primary, but they are not partisan elections, so everybody's going to have this on their ballot. Education is just so important and so underrated in DeKalb County. And I hate to give this sermon every time, but education is the lifeblood of a community.
Mhm.
It affects your
Absolutely.
property values. It affects the workforce that you have to take these jobs. It affects whether your kids come back and work in the community that they grew up in. And it is in everyone's best interest, whether you got a kid in the school or not, to take an interest in what goes on in our schools because it's important, and it only works if we have good people that step up to run for these positions. And so I appreciate you both for your interest in public service. This is, again, the Decaturish.com forum debate for District 3. If you appreciate the opportunity that we have provided you tonight, please go to supportyourlocalnews.com and become a subscriber. We need you. We need your support to keep doing what we're doing. All of our elections coverage, our voter guide, everything can be found at DecaturishVotes.com. We're going to have one more debate this week. It's going to be the District 5 Board of Education Forum, and that's going to be streamed on Twitch tomorrow. If you don't know what that is, ask your nephew. And Facebook tomorrow. If you don't know what that is, ask your mother-in-law. And then we're going to upload it to YouTube after, so everybody can watch it and have a chance to see these candidates, hear these candidates, get their views on things, and hopefully make an informed choice on May 21st. Again, election is May 21st. Early voting, I believe, starts April 29th. Decaturish
Yes.
votes will have. Oh, good. I'm glad I'm right on that. And that will be that. We will see you all again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for the District 5 Board of Education Forum. Until then, have a nice night, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.